Annunaki, the censored history and origin of mankind. Ancient beings endowed with vast knowledge, advanced technology and from another planet, would have come to Earth hundreds of thousands of years ago and created humanity. Ancient texts mention a 12th planet, named as Nibiru, inhabited by humanoids similar to humans. When these aliens arrived on Earth, fleeing their decaying world, they found on Earth a mineral that they needed to regenerate the atmosphere of their home: gold. We know that ancient cultures have considered gold on a divine level, possibly an inherited knowledge from the Annunaki. Nibiru approaches Earth. 432,000 years ago, the hypothetical planet Nibiru approached Earth, which made it possible for the Nibirwans, the aliens we mentioned above, to set off in their spaceships bound for the Blue Planet. After crossing the solar system, they arrived in ancient Mesopotamia, possibly due to the proximity to the gold mines located in South Africa, where they extracted the valuable mineral. However, the Nibirwans faced a challenge: they had to do heavy work to obtain gold. Initially, the Annunaki people began to carry out the mining works. This did not seem right to the Annunaki. Obviously they had very superior mental characteristics, rebelling against their superiors. The Annunaki masters, with the aim of solving this problem, thought of creating an inferior being who would dedicate himself exclusively to working in mining and not complain or rebel. Creation of human. Faced with the need for individuals to carry out the gold mining works, the Annunaki genetic engineers decided to create a new species, combining their genes with those of the primates that lived on Earth at that time, possibly Australopithecus. At this moment Enki and Ninmah, two Annunaki leaders, entered the scene, who were in charge of designing beings of superhuman strength and of great size, which worked for the Annunaki for a long time. However, these novel beings had a problem: they could not reproduce with each other, so they had to be continuously created to obtain an acceptable extraction of gold. After this, Enki and Ninmah began to develop different types of beings, until they achieved a new species that could reproduce, Homo erectus. It should be noted here, that the Annunaki went to their planet Nibiru in each approach cycle, 3,600 years, a period of time that the Sumerians knew as Sar. It is noted here, that the reign of the Annunaki on Earth was several 100,000 years, in which they possibly went and returned several times to their home planet carrying the gold to repair it. The slaves are freed. The experimentation carried out by Enki and Ninmah was very advanced, so that the individuals who worked as laborers began to unite and rebel against their creators, similarly as the Annunaki people had done in the past. This is how many managed to flee the mines and populated other regions of the Earth, starting a new way of life, free but without a guide, which led them to act in a savage way, as indicated by ancient texts. After 3,600 years, the Annunaki returned to Earth again, finding that their creation had gotten out of control. They then decided to carry out new experiments to perfect the existing breed and create better workers. The result was a species that could think for themselves, speak and reproduce among themselves. Modern man, the first humans, that is, Homo sapiens. According to historians, there is a list of the Sumerian kings, where it is mentioned that one of them ruled for 1,500 years about 5,000 years ago. The Sumerian king list mentions the king of God, who came as a guest of honor in a flying ship in the shape of a shield, landing in a whirlwind of flames at the back of his royal palace. When the history of the Sumerian kings is analyzed, especially of this king of God, we can discover some aspects that the scholars of the traditional current of history have not been able to answer. The Sumerian kings. Sumeria has always been a topic of debate for experts. The theory of the ancient astronauts affirms that there was the beginning of all civilization and humanity. In a deep study of Sumeria, a variety of stories can be found where powerful deities that came from heaven are named. Encounters with gods and a technology not known on Earth before modern civilization discovered it. In their mythology you can find events that can be interpreted as proof that there was extraterrestrial contact in ancient times. When you read that powerful gods once landed on Earth, and that in a corner of Mesopotamia civilization began, all this can be seen in the list of the Sumerian kings. Royalty descended from heaven. In Eridu, Ululim became king, ruled for 28,800 years. The list of the Sumerian kings is an ancient stone tablet in the original Sumerian language, where the ancient rulers, and how they came to Earth are clearly established. They are described as powerful kings who ruled the Earth for tens of thousands of years. King Etana, 1,500 years of government. Traditional archaeology regards this list as simple mythology. History and the antediluvian kings who ruled for thousands of years are not recognized. However, this does not mean that they did not exist or that it is only a legend. The Sumerian kings list describes how one of the kingship was transported by the gods, in the same way it could be transported to any ancient city. The confirmation of these texts could be found in the Ashurbanipal library, where there are some ancient texts that mention King Etana. Etana was the Sumerian king of the city of Kish, mentioned in the list of the Sumerian kings. He reigned after the Great Flood, being the successor to Arwiam, son of Mashta. The shepherd who ascended to heaven and consolidated all foreign countries. Etana. The list mentions that Etana was the 13th king of the Kish dynasty. The first dynasty to rule after the Great Universal Flood. How is it possible that a single man has ruled for more than 1500 years? Who were these kings? Etana continues to be denied as someone real to traditional archaeology.